Entertainment. Be my guest within the next 1 hour as we share all the details, stories that you're looking forward to. But before we bring you all the details, let's look at some of the top stories that we have for you tonight. So on Inside tonight, Public Accounts Committee grills Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Irrigation Authority over cost of construction of dams in the country.
So out of the 570, how many are dugouts?
I'm coming. Honorable Chair, dams and dugouts, they are all dams. No, please.
Well, tonight you would hear from the General Agricultural Workers Union as well as other interesting bites from today's sitting. So yes, stay with us as we bring you more. But that's not the only thing we would cover. Government describes accusation of acquisition and sale of some public lands politically motivated. Well, we'll find out from accusers what their actual intents are. And then we'll bring you up to speed with the latest happenings from our world of business as government statistician expresses concern about end-of-year outlook despite recent slowdown in inflation. Tonight, we talk pricing. And then tonight, GHOne TV gets results as reconstruction work on Independence Arc begins. Following GHOne TV report by Natalie Ford. Tonight, we'll bring you some images. And then we'll cross over to Senegal, where the media has returned from staging a blackout to drum home their country's declined press freedom. All right, so tonight we have these and many other interesting stories making the 1 hour bulletin. Just stay put, stay with us as we share all the details and many more with you. We're back shortly with all the details, and we'll start with Insight. Tonight, we want to appreciate Pepsodent for making it possible for us to bring you Inside. Let's start with our stories at this moment as management of the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority were grilled today by the Public Accounts Committee following revelations that the cost of a dam is between 5 million cedis and 25 million cedis. Well, according to the authority, the government has constructed over 570 dams since year 2017. The authority says feasibility studies conducted reveals that construction of a minimum dam will cost some 5 million cedis and a maximum of 22 million cedis. Well, the development did not go well with members of the committee as they demanded more clarifications. Well, here are excerpts of the chief executive of the authority, Engineer Richard Opong, who appeared before the Public Accounts Committee.
From our assessment that we have done so far for the past, let's say, 5 years, the minimum dam that you can construct now is about 5 million Ghana cedis, about 5 million. And the maximum, because if you look at we are not looking at targeting just a small storage dams. Now, if you can see that we are targeting dams that can withstand even the climate change impact. So the maximum that we did last year was close to about 22 million Ghana cedis per one site, one dam. So it's very easy. Yes.
Are you the one in charge of one village, one dam?
Honorable Chair, we are not in charge, but we give technical support to them. But we were not in charge of the actual administration of the project.
So how many villages got dam?
Oh, close to about 574.
Where?
Honorable Chair, I can provide the
Are they dams or dugout?
Yes, some of them are dams, some are dugouts.
Okay.
Because they vary depending on the site. Yeah,
dugout, 570 dugout. So out of the 570, how many are dugouts?
I'm coming. Honorable Chair, dams and dugouts, they are all dams. No, please, let me explain. Let me explain technically. When you say
order,
yes,
order.
Honorable Chair, let me do the clarification. A dam is just a structure that stores water.
Yes.
If it's a dugout, it means that you have to dig below the ground level before you can create the storage.
Okay.
But it's also a dam. I would say it's a small dam.
Okay.
And the big dam is the one that you build above the surface of the earth. That is what we call the big dam. So
Okay.
dugouts, whether dugout or dam, they are all dams.
Well, definitely you would want to get more details into this particular subject. Now, joining us over the telephone now is the Executive Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union, Edward Kariwe. Mr. Kariwe, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Indeed, interesting developments at the Public Accounts Committee. But share with us, the Ghana Irrigation Authority has pegged the cost of a minimum dam at some 5 million cedis. I mean, tonight, I'd want to find out from you. You advocate for agriculture. Would you applaud them?
Yeah, good evening to you and to our viewers all over the world. I think, why should we applaud for them?
Well, they have 570 dams all over the country, and this, they say, is supporting agriculture. And you speak for the agri sector. So I said, would you give them a clap?
Yeah, what I'm saying is, granted that what they've said is true, does that mean that for the entire northern sector, the number of villages that we have is what they have covered? Well, they said one village, one dam. Is it that all the villages in the north have got dams? But you see, you can see that when the question was put to the chief executive as to what is a dam and what is a dugout, you know, he gave a technical meaning. And farmers are not interested in technicalities. They are interested in a dam. And a dam can mean different things, a dugout can mean something else. But what farmers need is that anytime they are cropping, they should have water for their crops. And the dams that they have allegedly built for the farmers, they don't contain water in the dry seasons. So in the dry season, you go there, there's no water. What is the use of a dam that does not hold water when it is most needed?
Edward Kariwe is saying that one village, one dam initiative is an exercise in futility because the water, the dams, so-called dugouts, do not contain any water. Is that what I'm hearing tonight?
I'm saying that is the fact, and it cannot be denied. If the purpose of the dam will determine the size of the dam. We have dams for different purposes. We have dams for domestic use, for the animals to drink from, and then also to be used for domestic purpose. When the animals go into the dam to drink and they are satisfied, they will walk away until they are thirsty, they come back there. So the water remains there until they come to use it again. The same thing with domestic use. And I'm saying that if you are going to use water to mold your bricks, you not say because we have got enough water, you put more water in the cement and the sand. Otherwise, you cannot mold the bricks. So, but if you are talking about the dam for irrigation purposes, and the manner in which we do our irrigation in Ghana, it is the flooding system. You know, you need to flood the entire area that you have cropped. And that, you do that in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, and in the evening. So the amount of water that will be used in a day, in a week, in a month, I am asking the question, the dams that they have built, does it contain enough water to be able to be used for 1 week, 1 month, 2 months in the dry season? Meanwhile, the dry season is more than 3 months, it's more than 4 months, it's more than 5 months. So what is the use of the dam when in the course of your cropping, there is no water to give to your crops? Then all your effort that you have, the cost you have invested in your crops, when it is now getting to the time that they need water to tassel or flower or do something, and then so that you can have your produce, there is no water in the dams.
But Mr. Karuwa, interestingly, should I call your office one that is sleeping so long as labor is concerned? Because, I mean, this has lingered on for a few years now, and you have not questioned it. I don't know, the price that is being mentioned between 5 million and then 22 million, have you not questioned this enough such that you now tell us that, look, the exercise is bogus, it has not yielded the result, it's a failure, and it's in shambles?
Well, I don't think that we have not questioned this. As far back as 2016, getting to the end of 2016 when they launched the policy, and 2017, we asked these critical questions. First, we asked, how many villages are there in the northern part of the country? We went further to also ask, how much was it going to cost for the construction of one dam? Government never gave us those figures. Because when you know the number of villages and you know the cost per dam, that will now inform you whether or not government has got the resources to do it or not. For instance, you are there. I can say that I will feed you for the whole of the month. Someone cannot say no. But if, for instance, if you spend only 1 cedi a day, and I take my salary, I can spend 30 cedis on you and feed you for the 30 days or the 1 month. So we wanted to know the cost of the dam so that we can now look at the number of villages. And government never disclosed the number of villages that we have in the country, in the target area. Neither did they disclose the amount of money that each dam will cost. It is just surprising that we are now talking about 5 million today. We are not talking about today matter. We are talking about when they started constructing the dam, what was the cost? You see, so again, it isn't that today that we are now talking. We have consistently, and social media does not sleep. You can go and Google my name, find out about what we have been saying all these years. It's just because they did not listen to us and they continued with it. There has never been a moment where we failed to question where are the dams. You see, so for me, the government has not been serious with agriculture so far as irrigation agriculture is concerned. What have they added to irrigation agriculture? So this is the point. So we have never slept over questioning government and asking government to demonstrate to us how they were going to build the dams and where are the dams and whether the dams are appropriate or not.
Edward Karuwe, we will hold it here, but we definitely would call for an extended time for this discussion. We definitely would want to hear more from you on this particular subject. But tonight, allow me get into other matters still with the Public Accounts Committee. As the Public Accounts Committee today referred management of the Ghana School of Law for prosecution over procurement breaches. Here are excerpts.
Endeavors. Kadi Dam has been a critical risk
at the table under which these infractions were listed, many of which were petty transactions which could easily pass under petty cash transaction. Indeed, the suppliers were registered suppliers of the Ghana School of Law. We had regularly engaged them in a number of transactions, at which point we did comply with all the relevant procedures, except that in these instances, those additional invoices were at the time of the audit not attached to those transactions. There was also another leg to this infraction that has to do with hotel accommodation, for which usually academic board meetings, conference marking and those things. Indeed, at the time, we usually would consider the suitability of the venue where that conference marking, for example, would be held. In fact, at some point, if we are going into a hotel and there are some other public institutions or there's a mass activity in that organization, in view of the sensitive nature of examinations, we even would opt out of that particular hotel, even if the space was available. These are some of the considerations that come usually when we are selecting a venue, a conference venue for this conference marking, and then Board of Legal Education. So these are basically the issues that were listed.
Right, so tonight we would want to close it with the Public Accounts Committee, but that would end Insight as well. Would want to appreciate Pepsodent for making it possible for us to bring you insights. We're coming back shortly with some more local stories. Do stay with us. We'll be back soon. We're grateful for keeping faith with us. We still have some more local stories for you tonight. And here, government says the recent accusations against it regarding the acquisition and sale of some public lands are politically motivated. Well, according to the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abujinapo, some of the lands allegedly sold to private entities occurred before the Akufo-Addo-led administration took over the reins of government. Well, in this regard, he announced that all public lands leased or sold to private entities are being compiled to help the public understand the issues. Here is Lands and Natural Resources Minister Sam Abujinapo addressing the media.
Our Arctic Constitution is always the public interest. The people who sold some of our public lands, which has resulted in some misunderstanding and litigation with some public institutions, have had a temerity to turn around to accuse this government of the very acts they perpetrated. Fortunately, the records are still intact, and we know who sold these lands, which have been repackaged as evidence of state capture. In the spirit of transparency, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, has directed the compilation of a list of all public lands that have been transferred, leased, sublet, or sold since the inception of the Fourth Republic on 7 January 1993. A dedicated team of men and women at the Lands Commission are working to put together this list, the details of which will be made public once the exercise is complete, and the Ghanaian people will have the opportunity to scrutinize this list and make conclusions for themselves. Let me hasten to add that the grant of public lands for development in and of itself is not necessarily wrong. As population grows, with competing needs for land, it becomes necessary to change the use of some of these lands to meet the developmental needs of the nation. For instance, the Labone and South Labone estates were originally acquired in 1902 for coconut cultivation, but had to be given to the State Housing Company to develop them into a residential area. The lands at Botema, which now hold the Botema Estate, Sports Complex, and Aquatic Center, were acquired for livestock farm in 1940. Airport residential area, as well as portions of Airport West and East Legon, were originally acquired for aerodrome services, but have been developed into one of the prime areas of our capital city. Cantonment and switchback residential areas, parts of Roman Ridge, GHOne, and Achimota residential area are just a few of such examples.
All right, so you'd want to stay on the matter some longer, and here touching on the constant agitations from the coalition of land associations for the release of some lands near the Burma camp to them. The Lands and Natural Resources Minister disclosed that efforts are being made to ensure a smooth handover to the La Traditional Council.
I constituted a committee, a 5-member or so committee, with representation from the Ghana Armed Forces, from the La Traditional Council, from the Ministry, from the Lands Commission, that did thorough work, very, very detailed work, came up with their report. We've since granted a lease to the La Traditional Council, but the Ministry of Defense is engaging the La Traditional Council and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources for an arrangement which will ensure that the taking of possession of the land does not result into unnecessary controversy. As you know, whenever you are dealing with the military, you have to be sensitive. So we have to give them time and also accord them that space to be able to conclude this engagement. So it is still work in progress, but a lot of work has been done. I've been to the La Traditional Council multiple times to brief them. A lease has been granted in their favor. That has been done. That has been concluded. Government is fully committed to returning these lands to them, which is why we went as far as granting them the lease. But the Ghana Armed Forces has concerns or issues they have to deal with, and rightly so, because they're a very important, sensitive institution. And the Minister for Defense and the Chief of Defense Staff is taking very important steps to resolve the outstanding issues for us to have an amicable resolution of this matter.
All right, so now let's speak to Jeffrey Tete, leading member of the Coalition of Law Associations, for a conversation on this particular matter. Jeffrey, thank you very much for your time tonight, joining us this evening. Well, have you been engaged in any way by the Lands Commission on this matter, and what have they been saying, so long as, ensuring that these Burma camp lands that you've been agitating for is returned back to the Stu land?
Thank you very much. Let me say happy good evening to your cherished listeners. I have listened keenly to the minister, and I think most of the things the minister has said, from the time he took over, from the time he formed the committee, his briefings to the Traditional Council, and then the fact that a lease has been granted to the last two, are all true. Yes. So as of 2022, the land has been released to the people of La. Now, what the Ghana Armed Forces does not know is that we took steps. Immediately, the lands were released to us to go to the Lands Commission and plot that land in the name of the Lasu. So today, if you pick any portion, even an handkerchief-sized portion of the land, and run a search, it would indicate the true owners of the land to be the Lasu. There's no dispute about that. Now, as to why the military or the Ghana Armed Forces, under the direction of the military, who happens to be our in-law, has refused to allow the people of La take possession of the land, we are unable to tell. Now, every effort we have made to go on the land have been met with good force by the military, and sometimes you wonder why innocent civilians, including chiefs, would go onto their land and will be faced with heavy artillery, to prevent them from going onto the land. The military claims that they have sensitive installations there. This is a probable falsehood. The portion of the land which was given to the people of La has no military installations. It was their land, their land, which has never, ever, there's been no construction on it whatsoever before. It was used for farming. Basically, okra farming by our town folks.
So, Jeffrey, your own safety and the people whom are probably eventually, you said, look, we've plotted the land. When you go and do a search, it's in our name. But probably what the minister is saying that, look, we want to ensure a smooth handover because the military equally have their concerns. Maybe they do operations at night. Maybe some trainings go on there. Maybe for security reasons, they cannot disclose. But there are some underground tunnels in the near future. If there should be any outbreak, Is this the message that the La people are saying that we don't understand? Or you've just seen that, look, others are developing the property and we wouldn't sit and have people amass our land and be quiet over it? Is that what you were saying?
The land does not belong to the military. And again, let me tell you, if the military is saying that they have sensitive installations, they do not have any training over there at the portion that was given to us. They do absolutely nothing there. Now, a portion of that land was earmarked for a certain hospital as the military themselves. So during the negotiations, it came up that, okay, because they have already given it out for a hospital, well, they are going to maintain that. So the people of Laos shifted from that portion, and we got 114.60 acres. That very portion that was earmarked for a hospital, my brother, they have sold a portion of it to a certain Baby Aku, who is well known in this country, a certain Baby Aku. So they are even intending to sell some of the land, I am telling you. And it's unquestionably, you go to the Mujamama roundabout area of the land and run a search over a certain, let's say about 10 acres within that angle. And you see that a certain Baby Aku's name will pop up. They are selling some of the land. And they are telling us this. Look, is this what is just enough land for national development? Is this our thank you? I think it doesn't make sense. When people cop in other parts of the country, they give them land. Recently, I had to do this comparison, but let me tell you, around Bantama, there was a military enclave, about 400 plus, in excess of 400 land. This was a built-up area with military bungalows and flats. When Otunfo called for that land, it was given to him without any.
No. So you've taken the conversation from Accra to Kumasi. No, that's not what we are talking about. Or you are doing some major comparison that you think that it should. You are just it has substance with what is happening here in Accra.
I am trying to give you an example so that you understand the kind of treatment they make out to our traditional authorities, the disrespect that government gives to our traditional authorities, and the amount of respect they give to other people from other parts of the country. They are just disrespecting us, the Christian people of land. And surprisingly, we have said not in terms of land for national development. The most prime of land is in La, the whole of Ghana. We have contributed most. When you look at the South La estates, the cantonment estates, when you buy things like Boni, the state for Birmingham Airport, the prime land, we contributed it. And today this is the time to give us. It is just sad. It's just sad.
Jeffrey, in 30 seconds, if you want to speak to authorities on this, I know you've advocated a lot. What shortly do you want to say to them?
I think that governments are elected to work to the benefit of the people. When the people realize that the work of government is becoming detrimental to their cause, to their life, then it's just to a point where the people will now have to spend for themselves. And it appears that that is what government is pushing us to. The only thing we can do is that if any government decides that they are not going to work to the benefit of the people will have to show them the evidence. If government doesn't ensure that we get this land, we put them away, get somebody else in. If the person also misbehaves, we keep changing them until they learn something.
To who are here, let them listen. Thank you very much for your time, Jeffrey. We'll look at other stories tonight, and here the culture of maintenance in Ghana has become quite troubling, with state-owned assets gradually crumbling. Well, my colleague Natalie Fort months ago drove by the Independence Arc and reported how the once loved national monument had been left to rot. Well, today GHOne News reports that some rehabilitation works have started to give a facelift to the monument. Natalie Fort once again found this report.
Today I'm standing before the once iconic Black Star Square, a symbol of Ghana's rich history and struggle to win independence. A few months ago on GHOne News, we brought you a series of reports highlighting the poor state of this once iconic structure. Due to years of neglect and poor maintenance, the Independence Arc, once a proud symbol of Ghana's heritage, had fallen into complete disrepair. Crumbling walls, faded inscriptions, and overgrown surroundings painted a sorrowful picture of a nation's treasure which had long been forgotten. However, I'm pleased to bring you an update on the current situation. A few months after our initial reports, construction work has begun, signaling a renewed commitment to preserving our national monuments. As you can see behind me, workers are on site diligently working to restore the Independence Arch to its former glory. The renovation project aims to address structural weaknesses, refurbish the exterior, and enhance the surrounding landscape. This restoration marks a significant step towards valuing and preserving our cultural heritage. As the construction progresses, we will continue to bring you updates on the project's development. This renovation process is not only about maintaining the physical structure, but ensuring we honor the legacy of those who fought for Ghana's independence and remind future generations of this pivotal chapter in Ghana's history. Natalie Fort for GHOne News.
And right here at Platinum Place, my name is Kweku. Now time for us to talk health. And management of the Kweku Teaching Hospital has finally taken delivery of the essential consumables needed for dialysis, which were stuck at the Temeng ports. Well, this delay resulted in the closure of the renal unit to outpatients since August 12. Speaking exclusively to GHOne News' Nadima Umar Uthman, Public Relations Officer for the facility, Mustafa Salefu, says though he cannot confirm when the renal unit will be open to the outpatients, the communication will roll out soon as they complete internal processes.
GHOne News can confirm that the Kweku Teaching Hospital has finally taken delivery of the essential consumables needed for dialysis, which were delayed at the Temeng port for weeks. But outpatients of the renal unit will have to wait a while longer to receive dialysis treatment, despite previous assurances from management of the facility that the unit will be fully opened on August 13. Mustafa Salifu, who is the Public Relations Officer of the Kweku Teaching Hospital, clarified that contrary to expectations of an early arrival, the essential consumables only arrived on August 14.
You begin the processes with the Ministry of Health, through Ministry of Finance, to GRA, FDA, and then even Environmental Protection Agency. They all come in to give their approval before we can pick the items from the port. But as we're saying, this is Ghana, is our country, so if it's decided that they want to amend the processes through which we go and then clear the country, it's for us to decide as a people. But ideally, if that happens, that will be good for all of us, because you can't have items that are stuck at the port. Meanwhile, you need them to provide essential life-saving services to our patients.
The Public Relations Officer, who could not confirm exactly when the renal unit will be open to outpatients despite the arrival of the consumables, assured internal processes are being expedited to begin operations fully.
We have a mechanism in place where the department, they have open channels through which they communicate with them. So they will go through their processes. Sometimes, when they are ready, they'll still ask them that they should run some labs and then come and start on a particular day. So that one, we are leaving it for the department that will get in touch with the patients and then let them know when they can start. But thankfully, we have the items here.
Work at the Kweku renal unit is expected to see some level of normalcy away from a time where measures had to be taken to minimize disruption and inconvenience to patients.
Away from health, let's bring you some other stories. And here, the Agbogbo of the Asogli State, Togbi, Afeather the 16th, has cautioned against outright dismissal of controversial Ejapa document. Well, the document allegedly is the MPP government's blueprint for state capture, though the president has described it as a fabrication. Opponents of the government and some businessmen have laid credence to its existence and implementation. While addressing party faithfuls present during the NDC flag bearer John Romani Mohammed's tour, Togbi further claimed though he doubted the authenticity of the document, portions about his company are manifesting.
And more recently, we are hearing about something called Ejapadier. And sadly, my company is also mentioned in that book. My small strategic African security is also mentioned in that book. I find it difficult to believe that that was a genuine document. But of course, certain things that we go through give us thoughts to the contrary. I recall that in 2019 thereabout, we received a letter for us to sign, pre-written in our name, to sign to resign from the group of companies that advise government on its bond issues. That came as a shock. Another time, we had a commercial paper outstanding with a state-owned financial institution that had not matured. Suddenly, we had debt collectors at our door demanding repayment of money that had not matured. So when I reflect on some of these things, then I begin to wonder. And only about 2 months ago, Yoko was at a small factory that we own in Temeng, Pioneer Kitchenware. We're just majority share owners of a company that is going through hard times, closed down. We're thinking of reviving it. And Yoko was there because PKL allegedly was owing rates to Temeng Development Corporation. And you wonder, what did Yoko have to do with indebtedness of a small company to, So when you look at all of these things, then you begin to rethink about your view of Ejapadiye. But again, you just reminded me about my involvement in the startup of Data Bank. So that makes it even more surprising that after helping to found that company, I could also be a target. Anyway, but a lot of scandals are part of the problems that have drawn our country back. And this.
Well, all is set for us to bring you the latest happenings from our world of business. So tonight you need a loan, just go to Bill's Microcredit. We thank them for making it possible for us to bring you business tonight. Well, some stories in business. And here, the Institute of Fiscal Studies has described the Ghanaian economy as one that is still weak and fragile, while asserting the country still has an unstable macroeconomic environment. IFS has therefore challenged assertions by the government that it has turned the corner as captured in its mid-year budget. There's more in the following report.
Ghanaian economy remains very weak and fragile as the macroeconomy remains highly unstable, leading to far below par economic growth rates. For instance, although inflation rate reduced from the astronomical rate of 54.1% in December 2022 to 22.8% in June 2024, as pointed out earlier, apart from the rates recorded from April 2022 onwards, the inflation rate of 22.8% is still the highest in Ghana since January 2004. Of course, today, Ghana Statistical Service has come out with a July inflation rate of 20.9%. That is still the worst since January 2004, apart from the rates recorded when the crisis hit. So it shows that the macroeconomy is still very unstable. Even though Ghana is far from being an ideal country regarding inflation rate, a country that enjoyed single-digit inflation rates for 31 consecutive months from June 2010 to December 2012, averaging 9.0%, or even an average annual inflation rate of 11.8% from 2010 to 2021 must see inflation rate of 22.8% as of June, and even 20.9% as of July 2024 to be dangerously high.
Institute for Fiscal Studies there. Well, Locked Up Investment Holders Forum has described the apology rendered by the Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam to Ghanaians for government's domestic debt exchange program, that's the DDEP, and the current economic hardship as meaningless. Well, convener of the Locked Up Funds Investment Holders Forum, Dr. Abu Edu Anane Entry, says considering the minister's posture towards Ghanaians, those investments are locked up. The apology and only be deemed sincere if it brings about a tangible positive change.
They have written letters to the minister that they want to have a discussion with him and see what they can do to help them resolve some of the issues they will go through if their bonds are restructured. The minister is not minding them. So you do all these things and later on you come and apologize. No. If you have apologized, then do the right things subsequently. Now we are here. Our money is locked up. We want to have a meeting with you. We are waiting. You are not getting a meeting with us. Your staffs are also avoiding us. So an apology without changing the way you are behaving as a ministry is meaningless. So the apology is meaningless unless it is linked with a change in the way they are responding to customers and clients in the financial market to resolve our problem.
Let's now talk about pricing. As government statistician Samuel Kwabena Enim is urging government and stakeholders to be concerned about the recent rising prices of goods and services, as he warns the inflation rate in coming months could be a full reflection of the current happenings in the market. While the rate at which prices of goods and services are increasing in the country slowed down for the fourth consecutive month, according to the figures from the Ghana Statistical Service earlier today, reaching some 20.9% in July 2024. Well, government statistician Professor Samuel Kwabena Enim, however, adds there is the need to be concerned about the monthly rates at which prices of goods and services are rising, as he warns inflation rate in coming months could be full reflection of the current happenings in the market.
In the month of July 2024, the rate of inflation stood at 20.9%, indicating that general average prices of goods and services in Ghana went up by 20.9% between July 2023 and July 2024. While this rate of inflation indicates a 1.9 percentage point lower than the rate that was recorded in June 2024 of 22.8%, it signifies that it's only the rate of change that has slowed down over the same period last year. And it's always important to have clarity in our minds, the connection between the year-on-year and the month-on-month. As you rightly said, the year-on-year food inflation has dropped by 2.5 percentage points from 24.0 to 21.5 for July 2020. Inflation in the last 3 months is largely attributed to the base effect. Then going forward, if there is nothing like base effect, given what happened last year, then definitely one has to be concerned. It means the current happenings on the market is what is going to drive the rate of inflation between now and December.
Well, Professor Enim De Edem Kojo is head of our research desk. He's been digging into pricing, inflation. He joins me right now. Madam, thank you very much for your time. So, yes, the government statistician has been putting the figures there month on month, year on year. But let me find out from you. He has some teething concerns in there. Can you share those details with us?
Yeah, so, Kweku, it's good news for us that inflation has gone on a slowdown for 4 consecutive months, and currently we are having July inflation at 20.9%. But it's always important to note that the inflation, we have two legs, the year-on-year and the month-on-month. So the 20.9% we are seeing is that between July 2023 and July 2024, the average rate of change in price of goods and services is 20.9%. However, the month on month, which is the change between June 2024 and July 2024, actually stood at 2.1%. It's also important to note that the yearly rate is actually an accumulation of the month on month of 12 months. So looking at the current rates we are getting each month, currently we are doing a lot of 2% monthly. If you do a compounding for say 12 months, that means that you'll be doing in excess of 24% inflation year on year. And then it's important to note that because prices really slowed down a lot last year around August to December, if we have what we call a normal base. So if prices even remain now and still do the 2% monthly we are doing, although we are celebrating now that we have a 20.9% inflation, we are likely to see that figure still remain just around that and not see it fall below the 20% that's, or even up to the 15% that government is targeting. So that is the reason why government statistician is saying that there's a need for us to be concerned. Now, there are some data here that really makes points some picture to it. And note that our inflation is currently being driven by food inflation. So this is the overall inflation of food. 21.5%, which is even higher than the 20.9% general goods. Now, vegetables, tubers, plantains, cooking bananas, and pulses have an inflation of 41.5%. So just look at that. If you are someone that consumes a lot of vegetables, your inflation will definitely be higher than the 20% that we are talking about. Ready-made foods and other food products, 18.6%, and cereals have just gone up by some 9.3%. Now, fish and other seafood, 22.8%. Live animals, meat and other parts of slaughtered land animals, 20.2%. Milk and other dairy products, 13.4%. Oil and fats, 4.5%. So on a year-on-year, this basically gives you some very, very important things on your consumption. So if you consume some of these items, you are likely to see your inflation higher than that 20.9%. Now let's also look at this. Fruits and nuts, 35.1%. Water, just gone little up, 1.9%. Sugar, confectionery, desserts, 15.2%. And then I think there's another one that is also coming in there. So that is what we have for the yearly. So that is what we see. Now this is where it's tricky. Month on month. Now remember I told you that if say we are doing a 2% for 12 months, we are above 24% compounding. Now month on month for vegetables, tubers, and plantains, just 1 month they went up by 4.3%. Now, although the overall inflation is 1.7%, just this one alone is 4.3%. So clearly, if you consume, as I said, vegetables, tubers, and plantains, you probably see your inflation looking higher than what other people would see. Now, these figures are equally reflected in others that are in there. So some other products like meats, among others, also have, as I said, a high inflation, 3.1. Milk, other dairy products, 4.6. And you know that these are some of the things that we really consume a lot. And so by virtue of some of these figures that we are seeing in here, sugar, confectionery, and desserts, 2.3. By virtue of seeing these things that we usually consume a lot, that is why we see okay, or the government statistician is saying that it is a bit problematic because figures on the average are delving down nicely, looking good. But on a month-on-month, we still have a lot of risk to be faced in there, Kweku.
Adam, could you thank you very much for the analysis or the detail that you brought us. We're sincerely grateful, and you should be looking forward to more of these analysis. I was going to delve in that we also have to look at election because it's the time that we spend a lot around the time, but that'll be a conversation for another day. Well, let's just quickly look at elections now as we are your election hub. All right, so Benghazi is all set to bring you the latest from our world of sports.
Into it, where Ebenezer Alote, chairman for the Women's Premier League Super Cup Committee, has promised an attractive Super Cup competition this year. And the fourth edition of the Ghana Women's Super Cup is scheduled to take forth 21st to 29th of September and will take place at the Ghana Soccer Center of Excellence at Pram Pram in Ghana. Now, 4 top teams from the Northern Zone and Southern Zone will compete for honors in the 8-team tournament, and Ebenezer Alote is certain of a good organization and tournament upcoming in September.
Sponsors will have a few on board, but we're still looking for many. You know, the attention of women's football is not like the men's football, and so we want to drive that home, that women are equally as good and their football is equally as interesting. Currently, the FIFA president is pushing for equalization even for the women, and so it is a good thing. Our president of the GFA has also drummed it down. He has given the full support to women's football, and it has brought it up. And so we are also pushing that we get a lot more supporters, a lot more sponsors, so that the game will leverage, and then we'll get the best out of women's football. People should be expecting a lot of excitement. The winner is supposed to get a cash prize and also a trophy. So is the second place and the third place. The winner gets the trophy.
Now, para power lifter Tahiru Haruna has been chosen as the new captain for Team Ghana for the Paris Paralympic Games. Tahiru is set to lead the team at the Games, which starts on Wednesday 28th of November and will end on Sunday, September 8th. The appointment of Tahiru Haruna as team captain is a testament to the unity and strength of the team, as he was voted for by his fellow teammates in the French capital of Paris. With Tahiru Haruna stepping into the role of captain, Team Ghana is gearing up under his leadership for the upcoming Paralympic Games in Paris this month. That's it. Madrid are currently drawing with Atalanta in the Super Cup. That's it for sports. Up next is international news.
On the international front tonight, media organizations in Senegal have returned from a staged blackout to protest a government's crackdown, they say, targets them directly and is aimed at curtailing press freedom in the West African country, where television screens went black on the main TV stations, the CFM, ITV, and 7TV, and radio outlets such as RFM and radio were silent. Most of the daily newspapers did not publish Tuesday's edition, except for the government-owned Le Soleil and the private pro-government Wolf Quotidien and Yao Subi. Well, the move comes as tensions have been rising between media organizations and the government, triggering international concerns over press freedom in one of the Africa's most stable democracies. All right, that's about all we have for you tonight. Delight staying with you throughout the bulletin. Would say we're back shortly with some more programs, so keep your channel right here and bring your families together and ensure you brush with Pepsodent. My name is Kweku Temeng.